It's in our nature as social animals to want to connect with each other on a deeper level. So in this section, we're going to cover 3 main questions. Number 1, what does it mean to have a deep friendship with someone? Number 2, what's preventing so many people from having deeper friendships? And number 3, what activities can you do to deepen your friendships? Before we dive into these questions, we need to discuss one of the current buzzwords, which is really at the center of all of this, and that word is vulnerable. Oxford Dictionary defines vulnerable as susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm, but I'm here to tell you that being vulnerable with someone is the most important thing to remember when it comes to deepening your friendships. Brené Brown has written extensively on vulnerability, and she says vulnerability is not winning or losing, it's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's our greatest measure of courage. In simple terms, to be vulnerable is to open yourself up emotionally in order to create real connections with other human beings. It's easy if you think of connecting 2 car batteries when giving someone a boost to start their car. Each car has to have their hood open in order for you to connect the booster cables to the batteries. So each car becomes vulnerable during this process. If you do it right, you can help that person start their car, and if you do it wrong, it can actually be dangerous to either cars. Being vulnerable with someone means that you're able to discuss things that you wouldn't reveal to just anyone. This could include discussing your hopes, your fears, things that you're embarrassed about, and things that you are excited about, but that you may also be very unsure about, such as an idea to start a new business or to break up with someone. So to answer the first question then, having a deep friendship with someone means that you both feel comfortable and safe enough to be vulnerable with each other. In other words, you feel comfortable and safe enough to open your car hoods and expose your emotional engines to each other. So what's preventing so many people from having deeper friendships? There are 2 parts to this answer. First of all, just like with friendship skills, which includes conversation skills, learning to be vulnerable with someone is not usually taught in school or by our parents, so most of us don't learn how to be vulnerable with others. Secondly, most people are afraid of being vulnerable with others. After all, when we're young, it's very common to be teased by other kids when they hear new information about you. For example, if they find out that your parents are divorced, they could tease you about that, and you quickly make an association that giving away personal information is a liability. And the sad thing is that many people build up an emotional wall to protect themselves from being teased by others. And they maintain this wall into adulthood, not realizing that this very wall that helped them to feel safe is now the very thing that is preventing them from having deep connections with other people. As I've mentioned before, the main barriers to having the kinds of friendships that you've always wanted are not external, they are internal. They are inside each of us. And the good news is that we have the power to break down these barriers. So, what do you do if you think that you've built up an emotional wall that is preventing you from being vulnerable with your friends? It's simple, really. You just need to replace your emotional wall with an emotional shield, which, as I've described previously, is made up of establishing your self-esteem. So let's compare how these are different from each other. When you've built up an emotional wall, you are very unlikely to be open and honest about your thoughts and feelings and about things you really care about. This, of course, prevents you from creating closer connections with your friends, and as a result, your friends have much less interest in hanging out with you. Now, should you have the courage to break down this wall, this could result in you feeling way too exposed, and you may become worried about what that person thinks of you and if they're going to tell others, etc. In comparison, when you've created an emotional shield made up of your self-esteem, you actually look forward to being open and honest with your friends because even though you are revealing your personal thoughts and feelings, you feel secure in yourself and you have enough self-love to balance out the equation so you don't feel like you are losing anything when you're revealing personal things to your friends. You have also built up enough trust with your friends to know that they won't be judging you. So with all that being said, here are the top 5 ways to deepen your friendships. Number 1, develop your emotional shield by developing your self-esteem. For this, you need to simply refer back to your worksheet on self-esteem that we covered in a previous section. Number 2, pick a few friends to experiment with. As I mentioned previously, it's always good to diversify your friendship portfolio, and this is especially important when you want to develop deeper friendships in your life. The classic mistake is to open yourself up to one specific friend who may, for whatever reason, move away or not be available to you anymore, and now you're left with nobody else who you can be deep with, and you're much more likely to resent the whole idea of friendship when you put all of your eggs in one basket, as it were. Number 3, put yourself in environments to be vulnerable with your friends. Meeting up at a noisy bar or restaurant is not conducive to creating an opportunity to be vulnerable with a friend. Your environment and surroundings play a huge part in this, so this is the first thing to take into consideration. So try meeting up in a quiet coffee shop, or going for a walk together in a park, or meeting up for a movie night in someone's home. Eventually, you and your friend will establish places where you both feel comfortable opening up and discussing deeper things with each other. Number 4, make the first move. That is to say, when you're in a conversation with a friend, don't wait for your friend to be vulnerable with you. Feel free to break away from small talk or medium talk at any time and say something like, "Hey, I was wondering if I could share something with you." Or, "Hey, I was wondering if I could get your opinion about something that I've been struggling with for a while." And finally, number 5, as I've said previously, friendships are like plants that need to be watered on a regular basis. So one of the most important things to keep in mind when deciding you'd like to have a deeper friendship with someone is to see them on a regular basis. At least once a month, but preferably at least every few weeks. This will allow you to build up trust, which is the foundation for being vulnerable with someone. There are 3 parts to your homework this time. The first part is to find the worksheet for this section and identify what's been holding you back from creating deeper friendships in your life. The second part is to check out the advice from others or add your own advice on how to deepen your friendships. And the last part is the most important part. I want you to think about which of your friends you'd like to have a deeper connection with and use your 3 Circles of Friends worksheet as a guide. In the next section, we'll be covering how to add more fun and laughter to your friendships. So I'll see you in the next section.